After all, I'm a Bunyan, you know, and I just want to give thanks to my great-granddaddy, Simon Lee, who created Paul Bunyan here in Bemidji to represent everything that Paul Bunyan means to us. And I ask your indulgence, Simon. Forgive me for what I'm about to do. But you know, Pecos Bill blew in, and he said that you all were having a party for Paul Bunyan and that I should come down. Well, actually, I was their last choice. Because Paul's doing something, and Lucette is off on a vacation, and Sourdough Sam is making sourdough, and, you know, all those things. But I couldn't resist coming for a party. Who could resist a Paul Bunyan birthday party? Who couldn't, you know? Well, you don't know me. I know you don't know me because you've never heard of Petunia Bunyan. You know why? Well, I fell in love with Pecos Bill. Oh, and by the way, Johnny Inkslinger put together these slides, and I'm supposed to follow them. But I don't know if I can, because I got to tell you my story. Petunia, you know, I kind of fell out of the tree early on. I'm not like the rest of them. As you can see, they're rough and ready, and I hear tell that one of these guys actually shot his toe off. He was sleeping, you know, and he had a shotgun up under his head, and whoop, his toe was coming out of the blanket. He shot his toe off. Well, I don't even want to be amongst them types. I'm just too refined for that. So when Pecos Bill came and took me away to the Dakotas, I was more than happy to go because who wants to eat in places like this, after all? I mean, they blow a big bad horn and you're supposed to come a-running, and then not only that, but they serve you the same dang grub every night. And you know what? It was so cold one winter that they forbade everybody from talking at the dinner table. Can you imagine? It was the winter of 2 winters. Anybody remember that winter? You all been having 40 degrees, but this was so cold that the coffee froze while it was still boiling. That's cool. Well, and how much of this kind of stuff can you eat when you're trying to keep a good figure? 8,000 calories a day, that's what the average lumberjack eats. I ain't having none of that. So like I said, when Pecos Bill came, I was ready to go. I was all for a little rough riding, you know. Oh, I'm supposed to be telling the story of Paul, right? I better get to it. Yeah, that's my daddy. That's my daddy, Paul, and that's Babe. They look like quite the pair there, don't they? Don't they? Yeah! Well, you don't know the whole story of it. It didn't start out with Paul having a babe other than Lucette, my mom. It started out with Paul having to pull Lucette around, and have you seen how big my mother is? Just go over to Hackensack and you'll see she's big, really big. I'm glad I'm not so big. Well, Paul was lonely, you know, and he's looking. Pa, he needed help. But Pa's no good with animals. Absolutely no good with animals. He tortures animals. Babe just wouldn't have anything to do with him. They gave him to him for his first birthday. But the best he could do was Lucy, the cow. And Lucy can't do much, so he's hauling his own wood. He's lugging the logs. So it wasn't all happy for Pa. Come on, give me an aw. Yeah. Well, you know, like I said, Paul wasn't all that great with animals. Do you know the story of Sport? Sport doesn't think it's such a sport to be Sport. Sport got chopped in half one day, you know. And in their rush to get Sport put back together, they sewed him upside down. Well, and they did a few other cosmetic items to him, and Sport is not speaking to Paul, Papa Paul, anymore. He didn't drool to start with, but now he's got these great big, giant, buggy-out eyes, and who wants great, big, giant, buggy-out eyes? Except for Pa, I guess. Well, then there's the whole mosquito business, you know. Paul was going to be so smart. They were having mosquito problems, you know, out in Minnesota. And so Paul decided he'd get some honeybees, some big, giant honeybees, to come and take care of the mosquitoes. Well, the mosquitoes and the the bees, and you know, I'm running out of time because I don't even know what's coming next on these slides. But he checked it out with Santa. He checked it out with Santa, and you know, Santa said, ain't no ox that can fly. I don't want your ox. I ain't seen your ox. You better go just find your ox. And you know what? The whole idea of this thing about the ox in Bemidji, you know, it wasn't always stationary. No, he was a motorized ox at one point. He had a Model A Ford underneath him, and he belted out smoke as he went down the road. And you know what? Babe stood up there in the woods, and he was mightily depressed when he saw that. He was mightily depressed to have a Model A Ford shoved up his... But he endured as he always had, standing by Pa, looking sad. Until, well, let me just tell you, I do believe, now you ain't seen Pa, or Babe, whoever it is, in the woods, have you? No, he's up on the wall. And there's Pa. He's in the retirement home, warming his, yeah. But fellow Pecha-ians, I love Paul. I love my Pa. I love Paul Bunyan, and I love Bemidji. And the best part about it is every day is a vacation because you can stay in Bemidji for a staycation.